What we have here is a 1977 MGB. I'm told it's in Carmine Red, and it has been fettled a bit in the past, but she's looking not too bad now, and she'll look even better with a new roof. Okay, so the first task is to remove the existing top, and that's what we're going to do. On the pop riveters, we've just got a little bit of the leg remaining, which stops the draw going into the centre pivot hole. So we're going to just take that down by pushing it down. Okay, so what we're doing now, now we've removed the retainer, simply unbond the existing top from inside the header rail.
That's a bond, like a bond strip.
It is it's the hood bonded to the metal of the rail. And it will also be bonded on the outside. Okay, John, I believe this is yours. What I'm going to do now is just take a quick visual from front to back, just to see how the frame sits onto the vehicle. He's showing us is that this bow here, the centre bow, is slightly higher this side than it is there, right on the shoulder there. But unfortunately, there is no adjustment on this frame on this bow. So we're going to have to ride with this and see what we can do with it. On the front bow, a lot of people set these up at 12 o'clock. That is not correct. It needs to be around about 10 past the hour. On the driver's side, 10 to the hour, passenger side. Doing that gives you the adjustment to roll it back if you need to. Okay? Okay, so here is the replacement top. Okay. So we're going to fit a new rear bar into the stop. And the way we do that, two radius, one that way, and that way, but also that way. So we're putting it into the top inside out. The bow's facing upwards and to the back. We're going to slide it through the open side of the pocket. It goes under the opening for the teardrop, under the opening for the second teardrop. Push it right all the way till it stops. And inside there's another pocket, and then it slides back and goes back underneath that pocket. So we're trying to get this as central as we can. And there we go. So we're just going to throw it onto the top of the car, like so. Pop it onto the teardrops. So hook into the hook plate. Okay, so we've got the back of the top fixed to the vehicle. What we're going to do now is just slightly pull it forward to give us a guideline to where we want to lay our glue. And what we're looking for is for the bound edge of the binding, the radius, come round the radius of the rail. So we're going to pull it forward on the inside with a line. Do exactly the same on this side. Okay, so what we've done is we've marked our line for the guideline for the adhesive, but we have to bear in mind that that line is the most forward edge of the rail. Right. So we've now got to allow for the adhesive to come on. Yeah. The fact that we're going to warm this thing and put it under a lot of pressure is also going to bring that glue line further back.
Right.
Okay, so we'll make the adjustment on there now. Approximately 1.5 inches of adhesive to bond to the rail. We're going to put it under pressure, which is going to pull it forward even more. So we're going to allow another 12-15 mil, and we're going to do that throughout the entire.
So the fact that you're doing this freehand just comes from many years of experience.
Unfortunately, yes. Then we've got our glue line. Now when we apply the adhesive, and we are going to use a contact adhesive, i.e. a fix-a-fix, or we use a Bostik, you will need at least 2 coats of adhesive on the fabric, because the first one will just be absorbed, i.e. like varnish on an open porous timber. It will just go nowhere. So we'll put the first coat on. So as I said, this is definitely going to require 2 coats of adhesive. You can see from this that the first one is now absolutely bone dry, and that is not going to stick to anything. So the second coat that we put on that will actually form the contact with the first one that we're going to put onto the front header rail. You want to get it so that the centre of the seam is as close as you can to the centre of the bow. Pull the Velcro very tight. This doesn't have to be centred onto the top, because it is a pocket, and therefore will slide along the bow, finding its own centre line. Remainder of the roof onto the top, undo your first stud, fasten the tongue into the hook plate. So we've used 2 coats of adhesive on the back of the top. We're now going to put our first coat of adhesive on the metalwork, and again we're talking about 25-30 mil in depth. That's all it needs to be. What is important is the fact that we get a bead of adhesive right on the roll at the front, because when we pull it forward we can actually pinch it against that, and that will help it to stop it slipping back. So we're just going to drape the canopy forward, not pulling it at all. When it comes to actually pulling this thing forward, undoubtedly this vinyl has got to be warm, it's got to be supple, otherwise it's just not going to play ball with you. So it does need to be warm. Now I'm using a steamer, and we will add the steam and the heat to one side at a time. But of course you can use an electric fan, which is situated inside the car. You could use a hairdryer, anything to get this vinyl warm and supple. Now if you are going to use a steamer, and I think this is the best way to do it, you need to apply it from inside. So we know the adhesive is ready for contacting together, because you can touch it and it is just finger tacky. Same on the metal, it's just finger tacky. Bring the front of this tab out, dress strip in, and we want the front radius to come round the ear of the header rail. The near side pulled up, we're going to do exactly the same on the off side. Get it nice and warm and supple. When it comes to pulling the second side, just make sure that the centre of the roof is floating and not in contact with the rail. Draft strip on the inside, tab on the outside, and bring the front round. We've got the 2 side panels fixed. I'm just going to apply some heat now to the centre, and this won't need as much, because we are only going to dress the centre out and not stretch it. So if we come to the centre, make sure it's all lifted. We're not pulling this, we're just going to lay it on and take the tension up. Pinch it down, and again make sure it's caught on that front leading tongue. So we come to the first seam, and the seam needs to come through in a straight line, not at an angle, through to yourself in a straight line, and take up the slack between the centre and the seam. We got what some people would class as too much material. But what we're going to do is simply lift that. All it is air. Just going to lift that, push it out. Push the air out. Coming to the second seam, again, following the seam line straight. Ease it forward, bond it down. That's the front of the top totally fixed now to the header rail. What we're going to do is we're going to just let that sit just for a few minutes while that adhesive bond starts to cure, and then we'll come back to it and we'll look at turning the excess in underneath the header rail retainer. Got it in its fixed position. We're going to mark the positions for the press studs and the prop rivet that goes underneath. On the inside of the window pillar you'll find a male press stud, and on the lower part of the draft strip, i.e. the longer one of the two, we'll take the female press stud. So we're just going to take that inside and mark the position. So there's the male press stud. Tension that on top. And there's our position for the stud. Now under here, on the flat part of the rail, on the outside of the plastic nylon block, will be a 3mm hole, and the short one on the draft strip will turn and fix to that position. So again, we're going to just mark that while we've got it. And the final press stud is on the folding part of the mech, right there, and the inside of the draft strip sits on top of that, and again we mark that position for the press stud. Okay, so we're just going to punch these holes through. Now we use a rotary hole punch. You may not have one, but if you haven't, you can use just a pointed bradawl, and they will both take the hole out. We use the hole punches purely for speed. Frame down now so that we can lose all of this. Okay, so we're now going to return all of this waste material, including the tabs, into the recess of the retainer. Okay, so the tab is going to fit into this area here. And what it does, once that's fixed, it stops this being allowed to peel back and reveal the header rail and allow the top to become unbonded. But when we lay that, we can see that it's coming forward of the rail. So we're just going to quickly mark that. And you will need a sharp pair of scissors. What we're going to do now is apply a coat of adhesive into the metal and on top of the two tabs that we've just bonded in. Adhesive applied, that will only take a couple of minutes to flash off because this one on the fabric has already done its job. Just waiting for that one now to become finger tacky, then we can bring the two components together. We're ready to turn this in, but what we have to do is allow some relief here because it's coming onto an internal radius. So what we do, about 20-25 mm wide from the binding, take a straight cut to about 1/4 of an inch of the metal, so it leaves about 1/4 of an inch uncut. We come then to about 30-35 mm and do exactly the same again, And then we come to the inside of the centre seam, so we're working on the centre panel, and we put one at an angle, and again stopping short of the metalwork so none of it is visible. And what that allows is, when it comes round, it allows this to open and be stretched across to go underneath the retainer. And we will do that both sides. So starting from the centre, going to apply tension and simply turn it in and work in one direction, keeping it tight. Now ready to put the front retainer in, and what I would do is just lay that in, and with a white pencil simply find your centre hole in the retainer, and that's why we don't glue the front face, so we can now see our holes, and there's the hole. This is a 3.2mm drill bit. Simply going to find the centre hole only through the fabric, place that back on. The way we fix the front retainer in is with pop rivets, and these are 8mm long, 3.2mm diameter. Simply through the centre hole, line it up with the hole you just drilled. So we're just going to apply that rivet and fix it. I don't fix the last hole first. I come in to centre by one hole, drill that one through, fix that one into its position, so it remains now, it's totally fixed. Simply clear the holes on the remaining holes. So while we've got the top in this position, we're going to put a rivet into the hole that we marked earlier, and this will go through the shorter one of the two. It's just an 8mm pop rivet, 3.2, but it's got a bigger head. If you can't get a flanged pop rivet, you can simply put a small washer through the pop rivet. When we come to this, we can see that if we fix that in its position that it was marked, we've got loads of material left here, and that's just going to intrude when locking it onto the screen, and it's going to stop us putting the front rubber in. So we're going to lose some of that, and this is only on the short one. About 20mm past your hole that you've marked. It turns on itself, like so. And locks in. Okay, so the next process is to get rid of this excess material on the front of the retainer. To do that, we're going to be using a sharp Stanley knife. Now I do this in two halves. I go from the centre to one side, from the centre to the other side. Okay, so we're going to put the front rubber seal in, and I do recommend that you fit a new one. And that is basically the tongue there is going to fit into the recess of the aluminium retainer. And what I always do again is apply a slight angle to the end so that it follows the angle of the retainer. And to fit these, we use a flat bladed paint stripper. Now the way to do this is to tip it on an angle, allow the far piece of the rubber tongue to go into the seal, into the retainer, and then feed the front leading edge in. Okay, so I'm just going to fit the press studs into the positions that we marked earlier. And you can buy the press stud tool from online outlets and also from any half decent camping outlet. Okay, so with all of the studs fitted, we're now going to relocate the lift dots at the back. So we put the hook plate on at the front, and then working from the center point of the lifter dots, come forward. Okay, so with all of the locations now fitted, just going to reapply some heat on the inside using the steamer, and this of course will make it so much easier to locate the catches onto the front screen. Okay, so with everything now locked back onto the screen, we can see we've got a couple of pressure marks, and we're going to lose those simply by steaming. And when we do the steaming, it's so much easier and most effective when the steam is applied from the wrong side of the fabric. It will do very little to the outside of the plastic other than getting it warm, so always do it from the inside or the wrong side of the fabric. So now we're just going to reattach the press studs that we fitted earlier to the positions, and of course there will be 3 each side, one on the screen pillar, one in the corner of the draft strip which snaps onto the frame, and one at the B post right behind the door glass. Okay, so now with everything fitted and everything correctly set, we can see that the door glass line around the hood is absolutely as it should be. We're looking at about 6 to 10mm clearance around the door glass, and that's exactly what we're looking to see.